We fixing to make this town real smoking.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today I'm here talking with Dale, the game developer. Bro is going to talk to us a little bit about this Nakatsu leaving Tekken situation.
Yeah, I'm not gonna act like I know everything. This is weird. I need to give you context of as to why I think he had to leave. There are many times a studio have leadership leave, and then that leadership will go on to do another thing. Harada would have left, and he would have been told by Namco when he was allowed to leave, because you need to wrap everything up. When I say allowed to leave, that just means if you want, the right leaving package, etc., you can always just do what you want. But there's a level of professionalism, especially in Japan. And then they would have been like, okay, here's how it's gonna go. We're gonna do more Tekken talks where you make it really clear that Nakatsu is your guy who's going to be taking the baton, because it's optics, right? You need to make it look really clear that, like, okay, Harada's leaving, but don't worry, guys, he's trained his second in command.
Yeah.
So there would have been that side, and then there would have been, I mentioned, a non-compete clause where he probably wasn't allowed to announce his new studio for a certain amount of time. That's just an arrangement, something you sign. And then there would have been a non-compete clause as well, where you may not have been allowed to hire anyone from there. But remember what I said when we had this chat before? I said, but Michael Murray or anyone at Bandai Namco of their own volition can make a decision to call up Harada and be like, oh, turns out you are doing something. I'm interested, friend. We had a chat where we talked about Harada's announcement video. I said this video looks very boring to the average gamer. He mentioned, I'd love to work with the people I know and trust. He mentioned that it's an independent studio, which is going to affect culture. That means that they can kind of do their own thing without being micromanaged. He also mentioned that it's entirely back, implying that this isn't just like a little bit of money from an investor that can be pulled away at some time. They was like, no, it's investment that is going to be over a certain amount of years. And remember, I said the whole video is for other game developers. The video is not for me. The video is not for Moonsoul. It's for other developers. I even mentioned in the video that it's the first video I've ever seen of a studio announcement where they place the address in the video. I've never seen that before in my life. From that point, potentially leadership roles would have had an individual chat with Harada, and there may have been things that were time sensitive. What I mean by that is, if you're making a new studio, two things might happen. One, you might make a decision that you're gonna join, but Harada might be like, okay, cool, I'd love to have you on the team, but here's the window that you need to join, because if we're making a new studio and we need a new, for example, game director or head of games or whatever, those roles need to be filled soon so we can start building this ship.
Yeah,
You can't be like, oh, I'll check you out in 3 years. In 3 years, someone's already got that role. Two things start happening now. You have to make a decision to leave, but you would have a very long, if you're a director, you have what's called let's just call it notice period. When I worked at Rocksteady, for example, when I was working on the Batman Arkham games, I had to sign a contract while I was working on the game that I would give them a notice period of 3 months. So I couldn't leave immediately. I have to be like, if I'm leaving, I had to let them know 3 months beforehand that I was going to leave. If you're a director, sometimes that's a year that you have to let them know. That chat might have happened with director, and Nakatsu might have been like, okay, cool, I'm wanting to join VS. I'm going to let Bandai Namco know that I'm going to join them next year, because his notice period might be a year. I'm just saying hypothetically.
Yeah.
It might be a year. There are times when you're leaving, a director leaving is a bad situation, but then when another director joins them, it can cause everyone to get very embittered. This is speculation now, but they maybe have been in a situation where Nakatsu said, hey, I'm joining them next year. I'm just letting you know, I'm giving you a year. We can do a handover. We can figure out the new people. Bandai could have just been like, nah, you know what? You're leaving next week. It wouldn't be his choice anymore. They could just be like, you're just trying to screw us over. You know what? We don't even want you here. This is pure speculation, but I have seen something like that happen. Another thing that could happen is there is still needed a handover period, but it could have been the day Harada left is the day Nakatsu made a decision that he was going to leave too. And they would have been like, you're out. And then they might have given him a meeting and then be like, you know what, you're not getting a year, you're getting 6 months.
Yeah.
So you're out in 6 months. We don't want to see you in any visible Tekken related outlets. Anytime there's a season update, we don't want to see your face. Anytime there's a live tournament, we don't want to see you. We don't want you representing us anymore because you're leaving anyway. Just wrap this up and you can go with your old friend Harada.
Yeah, because he wasn't on stage when they did the announcements for season 3, he wasn't he didn't do the interview. Michael Murray did the interview. He wasn't anywhere a part of anything. What you're saying, it sounds like it makes sense. Let's say all of these guys are sitting down at lunch and Harada's like, you know what, I'm sick of this. I'm leaving. And then they're all like, yeah, I'm leaving too. You can't just storm out. You're going to have different dates. So maybe that's what it is. It's like this person could go on this time, this person could go on that time. Or like, you know, what you're saying is like Bandai Namco could just be like, all right, just get out of here too, then we'll figure it out. You know, it's a scary situation for sure.
Yeah, it's scary is a really good word. The reason you got blocked, Moon Soul, is because of this. I genuinely believe that day Harada blocked you because you called him out on something he said about Bandai Namco is everything that led to him leaving, in my opinion.
Because that's when everything started.
So.
That's when the LinkedIn started. That's when he started like talking weirdly about Bandai Namco, because people found like old tweets where he was talking about how they're just like the company's changed. Like that is the start of it. That, I believe it was end of December through January. That's when everything started, and it was just different ever since.
It's probably been a long time coming. What would you say is the biggest Tekkens?
The best selling Tekkens of all time: 7, 5, and then 3. But if you take into consideration the eras that 3 and 5 was in, it was probably way bigger. Selling 12 million copies partially during the pandemic versus 12 million copies in 97 and I believe 04 or 05. Big difference, you know.
That's the same year that Bandai merged with Namco. That's basically when it all started to change. Masaya Nakamura, he's the founder of Namco, and he opposed the Bandai Namco merger. He was like openly against the Bandai Namco merger, and everyone had to convince him, but he basically said that Bandai was completely focused on promotion and marketing over quality. He was kind of a dreamer anyway, so I always got the impression that Masaya Nakamura and Harada had very similar ways of working. A reason why he didn't want Bandai and Namco to merger, because he was concerned that Bandai's corporate culture wouldn't fit Namco's development culture, and you know, they focus more on marketing promotion than they do on quality. Effectively do what they did. Is just focus on money. It says, under the midterm plan, we will realize both business growth and shareholder returns based on our capital allocation policy. So this is effectively what the February 2025 plan is like going forward. They effectively said, our plan is just to extract more money out of all of our IPs. It's just not how Namco used to talk. Of course, they're saying all the other stuff like, oh, we care about creative IP and blah, blah, blah. This just means that you now have a company that is the opposite of what Harada was ever trying to do. The person who gets to make the decision is the person who's showed a spreadsheet that what gets more money. There's little evidence to say the merger ruined Namco, but the culture definitely changed. And so we don't know how much institutional knowledge of people who worked on Tekken have already left the company over the years. And they might just be waiting for a new opportunity to get the band back together.
For all the videos that I made about Bandai Namco, it's usually focused on money, profits, and that's pretty much it. Even with Harada, he kind of talked about it himself, where it was like, it's not really creativity that leads anymore. It's just money. As more time goes on, you can see that they were really forced to do a lot of this stuff, forced to put the battle pass in. They can't do it under the deadline restrictions, so they have to reuse assets. They had to force the shop into the game at the last second. You can see that Bandai Namco is forcing not only them, but their other games to do things, because this is widespread across Bandai Namco where they're all getting more predatory. And for the Tekken side of it, those guys not only have an out with Harada, but they're kind of getting out.
Yes. I sent you another link as well. It's from Takashi Suji. He's the CFO of Bandai Namco at the beginning of the year. And the whole thing is basically, we're going to find ways to get more money. Promote market-orientated management, whatever. You're going to use the special words. Basically, the plan is, just so everyone knows, my role is to extract more money out of the company. The vision of Saudi-run companies is not to extract money. It's not even the concern. It's not, they might not even care about profits, because Saudi-run SNK is what they have. Like I said, 96% of SNK is owned by Saudi Arabia. They just want to create important IP. And so this might be a lost opportunity for a lot of these old guys to be like, wow, so you're telling me some CFO is not going to come in and like tell us what we have to do and what's the earnings per share and how much can we monetize these characters, and even simple things like who they get to work with. You mentioned something really important where you said, why wouldn't they get Tekken in Fortnite? Maybe Harada wanted to do that. We don't know. Maybe there was a Bandai Namco reason. It was like, no, we need to support another Bandai Namco related IPs.
It spells bad news for Tekken because without him, I don't know who's capable of leading. You could put someone in that chair and tell them you're game director now, but who's capable of it? Who not only has the skill, but who also has the trust of the team? If you put someone from the team in the chair, they may be having their own personal feelings about leaving as well. And if they leave too, it's over. Because we kind of see this with a company where they get a CEO and that CEO leave, and they get another CEO and that CEO leave, and then it keeps happening, and then you start hearing about bankruptcy, this, blah, 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 that. So we're just seeing something that no one could have predicted play out, and it's really a tragedy because it's all because of Bandai Namco's greed. Basically, they are solely profit driven, and they're trying to force all their games to be that. And in pursuit of that, they're losing their ability to create profit. Like I don't know what they're going to be able to do with the Tekken franchise if all the people who know how to make it leave.
Yes, but I want to be devil's advocate. It might be a bit more complicated than that. Bandai Namco are, quote unquote greedy, and this is what caused this. The landscape of fighting game and making fighting games kind of doesn't really work anymore. It's a very, very tough type of game to make. Every fighting game that we've seen that's alive right now and kind of doing its thing is like on its 10th sequel. The ones that are brand new out the gate they're not moving that strong. There's Invincible and then 2XKO. Those are the only ones I can think of off the top of my head. It's just an incredibly expensive game to make. Insanely expensive. It's so expensive that it's really hard to get shareholder value out of. So it's almost like the type of company that Bandai Namco doesn't really fit well with a game development studio that's meant to just make good fighting games. Unless you're in a situation where, one, the game is the most successful fighting game out, Tekken is not, and two, the publisher is just making so many hits month in and month out that it can kind of compensate for the fact the fighting game might be a bit more expensive than you expected. Capcom has both. I would say Street Fighter is the most successful fighting game out right now, and Capcom just can't stop dropping bangers that is just propping up the whole publisher. Resident Evil, Pragmata. It's just the publisher's just doing so well. So Bandai Namco is almost like in a situation where even if you were a good CEO and you're like, okay, I just want to make good games, the whole purpose of having that company is to create shareholder value, and your big expensive game is at the forefront. The only way to really help to make that happen is to extract more funds, like just basically exploit the IP. So I would say it's almost not even Bandai Namco's fault. They're just kind of in a weird situation.
You know how we were talking about Bandai Namco is trying to win back market sentiment because Rod is basically their competitor? So what is your thoughts on that kind of like topic now? Because Harada left, Bandai Namco obviously did a super hard pivot to try to, win back players with season 3. They seem like they're going in the right direction, but like what now? Like, I don't know. I don't even know how to form the question, bro. I don't even know how to form the question.
Maybe the whole mandate was just like, forget adding new content to the game, just win the fans back because you guys are about to leave.
Help us as much as you can before you kill us, basically. Yeah.
I need to see what Harada said as well, because I feel like when he left, he said, don't worry, this studio Tekken will be in safe hands with Nakatsu. I'm sure he said something like that. So it's like now everyone's gonna be watching Michael Murray. They need to stop being mean to Michael Murray, man, because he might be the last voice you have access to on Twitter.
Because I know people say that he's not good at the game and he's not like God 5. That's not what it's not what it means to be a good developer. Is if like you're a pro player. No, because he is a big reason why all of Tekken is the way that it is, and they can possibly salvage something with him there.
We can only see Nakatsu because we know him on Twitter. We can't see the 50 other people who are like having leaving parties from Bandai right now. Like, yeah, today's my last day at Bandai. I'm going to VS Studio. We can't get to see that. We have no visibility of that. But that happens all the time. That's why I told you that Forza story. The same thing happened with the Batman Arkham team. The 2 directors left and about half the team left to make a new studio called 100 Star. They haven't released their game yet. But when that game comes out, you're going to see it's going to be very similar to the Arkham games.
It's just crazy because like what makes this case so special is that one, it's fighting games, and fighting games are kind of a rare thing. And then two, it's like not only can they leave, but they have like a once in a lifetime opportunity with the Saudi backing. It can sustain for a long time, right? Like they can put out whatever game they release first, then they can immediately start working on number 2, number 3, spin-offs, this and that. And then now you could be at that studio for your whole, career as a developer. So it's a rare opportunity that they have, and I think they know that. I think a lot of people know that, and they're trying to get in. Like all of these other names, we won't know if they leave. From what we could tell, they don't have Twitter, they don't have, social media, they're not on stage at Evo.
He's the only person I really wish like there was an internet paper trail to be like, what are you doing?
Because underneath him,
But
it doesn't really matter. None of those guys you could put in a leadership role and like they can lead. This is the only
Exactly.
guy that would be realistically somewhat capable.
he's cited as the lead planner for Tekken 7, and then he was on the game design team for Tekken Tag Tournament 2. So he's like worked his way up. In fact, his name shows second on the game design list on Tekken Tag Tournament 2 in front of Nakatsu.